Well, now let's talk about from the education and youth engagement perspective. What gaps do you think exist in preventing cult influence when it comes to youth engagement and then education?
Okay, like you've said, youth engagement and education. I remember when I was in secondary school,
yes,
there was something that used to be prevalent back then, and that's extracurricular activities.
Okay.
You know, back then when we engaged in extracurricular activities, I don't think there's any room for idleness. You know, the saying goes that an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Indeed.
Yeah, so when there's that idleness and the people's mind are not occupied by relevant stuff, you find out that at the end of the day, a lot of people tend to drift. You understand?
Yes.
So that gap can be breached when, for instance, let me just narrow it down to education, extracurricular activities.
Okay.
I believe after school hours, if there are extracurricular activities that takes place like debate, quiz, I got to understand that in these recent times, those things are gradually fading away. Extracurricular activities are not really, you know, high-handed again as it used to be in the past. You know, so why wouldn't cult activities be elaborate, for Christ's sakes? Because you don't engage your students properly. In fact, the school of nowadays, the educational system of nowadays, what they do is just, in fact, a lot of students are even, the schooling, the curriculum and everything is not even making any sense. Again, they're just jam-packing everything. There's no, you know, but I don't want to go that way. But I believe if extracurricular activities are involved, mentorship programs, maybe back then I used to remember that, you know, mentors, that people that will mentor us on something, they'll come, you know, they'll engage us. When the engagement is there, I believe it's going to mitigate, you know, a whole lot of gap as it has to do with youth inclusivity in education and, you know, averting the cultism. That's my own belief.
Although we have seen situations where even when schools have several extracurricular activities for the students, you still see those ones with the unruly behavior. They don't want to participate. They don't want to be a part of it. Some could be in schools that try their best to engage their minds so they don't begin to think of, you know, the wrong means of engaging themselves. But you still see some of them trying to do these activities that may not be favorable to them in the long run. So yes, while the school have a role to play, I think the individual themselves, they also have to decide. You could still be a part of a club in school or a group in school that engages your time, and by the time, let's say after school hours or when you get home, they can still decide to get involved in affairs like that, which we are talking about cultism. But now let's talk about some of the biggest obstacles that's faced in reaching high-risk youth populations. They are populations within the state, within the local government areas that, yes, you've tried to reach out to them, but then there have been some challenges or some obstacles. Let's talk about some of those challenges.
Okay, I believe one of such is lack of trust in authorities.
Okay, how so?
You know, most times young men, young women, youths, like in this country as it were,
yes,
you find out that a lot of us, our hopes has been dashed into the dust because of the way our authorities, our security outfits operate.
Okay.
Most times you find that even religious bodies and authorities, maybe these are the people that are supposed to, you know, reach out to these high-risk people. But most times when the youth are looking up to these people, that, okay, fine, you are bringing a program that's going to help us. Or maybe the state government is doing something that's going to include the youth, that's going to reach these people. You find that a lot of people that are in authority, they begin to sideline funds. They begin to do things that, at the end of the day, that trust is not built anymore.
Okay.
Facilities and things that are supposed to be brought for the disposal of dispensing this, you know, this information, or, you know, bringing these people out of such environment. Find that at the end of the day, it won't be utilized properly. So when these youths are looking that, okay, our savior is here, or people that are going to, you know, pull us out of this, or people that are going to give us a way out are here. When they engage with these people are just, you know, very superficial. They're not even trying to go subcutaneous. They're not even trying to go down to the root cause. They just want to more just do and more package, more fee package, more come up for here. You understand? So those kind of a thing, you know, it becomes a problem. Secondly, you find that the poverty in society is a serious problem. Reason being that a lot of youths high-risk environment, a lot of these people, because of the need of them feeling, they want to belong, you understand, it's very difficult because the poverty system in the society will just make them want to do everything to make ends meet.
Okay.
So even when you are trying to maybe, reach out to them and you are not even providing, even if they try to engage, a lot of them are graduates. A lot of them have skills, but they are not engaged.
Yes.
A lot of them are not empowered. So because of the poverty, you see them that these cult groups, they'll come and tell you that, look, we're going to, bring you into place of influence. That is their promise always.
Yes.
We're going to connect you, know what, you'll get job, all these things. Before they're exposed to all these things. So I believe that if a lot of these things are looked at properly, it will mitigate, you'll be able to reach all those places, and it will mitigate the cult activities in those areas. That's my own strong suit.
Okay. Well, it does make sense. But then if you talk about, the policies of the government and that lack of trust in government, I mean, you can't totally blame the youth for having no faith in the government, seeing how it's been over time where things that are supposed to be meant for the youth, I mean, you watch them, they watch people in government dupe them, scam them, and then they are the same people who come to you and they are preaching to you to shun cultism, to shun armed robbery, when, broad daylight, you see them robbing you of resources that are supposed to get across to you to better your lives. So, you really cannot blame the youth when it comes to situations like this. But that aside, now let's talk about policies or laws that are missing in Delta State that could reduce cult activity. Do you think maybe there are policies that could be made, or there are policies that have already been made that are not being properly enforced, and that these policies or these laws could reduce cult activities in the state?
Okay, I believe there's a general, that's from the federal angle.
Okay.
Of which the Delta State government are also imbibing.
Okay.
So it's a policy it's an act to prohibit cult activities. But I believe there's a need for Delta State to have a streamlined law. Okay. A policy that you create that is going to, like, for instance, if you are caught in any cult-related activities, 3 years. You understand? I think when people begin to hear such stringent policies, a lot of people begin to think twice before they engage themselves in such perfidious activities. But when you find that the laws are not strict enough, we're not saying you should hang anybody, but when policies that could shape the very fabrics of society, of societal standards of living, you find that a lot of people are also going to guide themselves. Like, for instance, in places like China and the rest of them, even their elites are not above the law. If an elite misbehaves or is fraudulent or he embezzles funds, I think there are some that are death penalty. Okay. You understand? Instantly. So you find that the fear of those policies now creates a sort of order, you understand, in society. So that if you want to do such, you think about the punishment. You think about the repercussion. So you now do everything to be, you think twice. You wouldn't even allow anybody cajole you into it. So I believe if such policies, like if you are caught in cult activities, 3 years imprisonment. Okay. Or if you are caught, carrying such perfidious activities or such gatherings that are not wholesome, and we find that it's cult related, you are going to pay a fine of like 10 million, and you're going to do community service. If those strict laws, those streamlined laws are placed right now, I believe a lot of people are going to tuck their heads under the pillows. They'll be very careful about these things. Yeah. Okay.
You also realize that sometimes the reason that some of these laws, it seems, they don't see the light of days, because when we talk about cultism now, there are some notable persons that you notice that could be members of these cult groups. You know how some of these confraternities were started by the likes of the Mole Soyinka because they wanted something from the country, they wanted something from the leaders back then. But then recently, that has not been the case. And you see, you notice that even some of our celebrities, you notice them flying some colors that belong to some sort of cult groups. You see the handshakes, and you see, it seems that these people are brandishing these cult groups to look like it's something lucrative, it's something that's commendable, it's something that should be welcome. And then also, there's also this aspect of even these politicians, when it comes to election time, they need people to do their dirty bidding. And who do they go to? These cultists, these same touts, these same persons that you are asking them to make laws to ban or make laws to stop their gatherings, because these are the same people that when election time comes, Well, let's not say snatching of ballot boxes, but I mean, they used to use them for such. But lately now it's been for voter intimidation. You see them standing at polling units trying to oppress people, asking people not to vote for a certain group, causing confusion, causing chaos. So these are the same persons that are being used by these politicians. So how do we expect to get the best of these policies? How do we expect them to give us the right policies, the right laws, when at the end of the day, they are still the ones sponsoring them? Yeah. Sometimes, you know, after elections, you begin to see so many groups that are being arrested by the police, and the police are announcing that they've recovered guns from them. How did they get access to these guns? Someone definitely gave it to them to do something, and then after that, it wasn't taken back or it wasn't recovered. So you notice that even with all of these things, they continue, because once it's election time now, you see money flying all over the places. They are being sponsored, money is being donated to them. Who is sponsoring them? I don't think that they would, you know, people that you talked about that in these high-risk zones that cannot barely afford a meal would have enough money to start organizing call groups. Someone definitely is somewhere sponsoring them, and it's still the same persons that could allegedly be sponsoring them, and we're expecting them to make laws or policies that would ban them. So that's where the problem begins to arise. But we will take more questions after we go for the commercial break. It's been marvelous at me here with you on the big story this morning, talking about combating cultism in Delta State, and then also the campaign of OSHIMILLI South local, that's OSHIMILLI North local government area, talking about ending cultism in Delta State.